Tulum, one of the most exclusive cities in all of Mexico, is now completely empty. It's a ghost town.
Notice the entire street, usually crowded in high season, is now empty.
The paradise of Tulum is fading. The days of crowds are long gone. Tulum is in crisis as tourism drops and workers leave due to job shortages.
Media outlets ask, what's happening in Tulum? Empty streets and no tourists fuel Quintana Roo's beach crisis. It's no coincidence that we have news like this. Hotel occupancy in Tulum drops to a critical 48% and paralyzes the local economy. Unbelievable. Who would have thought Tulum is becoming completely empty? And honestly, I'm not surprised. Honestly, it was inevitable. Look, for those who don't know, Tulum had a very serious problem, and that was the exorbitant prices. Tulum is extremely expensive, really expensive. And despite being a Mexican city, it's completely inaccessible for the average Mexican. Yes, just as you heard, the average Mexican can't afford to spend a weekend in a city like Tulum. And do you know what's the worst part? We'll see that later, but just so you can grasp how crazy it is, they charge you to enter the beach in Tulum. Yes, just as you heard, the prices are so ridiculously high in Tulum that they even charge you to go to the beach. That's why images like this shouldn't be surprising.
Right now, we're in the hotel zone, which means the place where there are a lot of restaurants, obviously hotels, basically the busiest area of Tulum. And honestly, just now while we were riding around on the motorcycle, there are very few people. And right now, since we haven't received national tourism because this destination went viral for being a bit expensive, people have stopped coming. It's worth noting that Tulum had a strong foreign tourism presence, with many Europeans, Canadians, and Americans visiting.
And all that foreign tourism has greater purchasing power than the average Mexican. That's a fact. All of them can afford to pay much more. And that's where the problem lies. Precisely for that reason, everyone in Tulum drastically and substantially raised their prices.
Hey, my mom and I bought these ice creams here in Tulum, and what the fuck? These ice creams cost 1,000 pesos each. What's going on in Tulum?
$50 for an ice cream, just like you heard. $50 for an ice cream. Absolutely ridiculous and unjustifiable. I visited many of the world's most important cities. A couple of months ago, I was in Singapore, and I can tell you that in Singapore, I didn't see an ice cream for $50. In fact, just a few hours ago, I posted a video on that same channel talking about a McDonald's controversy. In the United States, Americans are complaining that a McDonald's breakfast costs $15. Yes, having breakfast at McDonald's in the United States costs $15, and that's making Americans angry, and McDonald's is in a serious crisis. What am I getting at here? That the business owners in Tulum were completely and totally disconnected from reality. They believed that just because there were a lot of foreigners, they could charge whatever they wanted, but that's not the case because even the foreigners themselves know when there are extra costs, when there are overcharges. The same thing happens with the taxi drivers in Cancun. I myself have compared in the past how much it costs to take a taxi in several of the world's most important cities. I compared it with Cancun. And I showed that it was much more expensive to take a taxi in Cancun than in several cities, like for example Singapore itself. I don't know if you remember, but we released a video proving it. But it's not just me who has said it. Luisito Comunica himself, who is one of the most important Spanish-speaking YouTubers, has said it himself. He himself has commented that even taking a taxi in a city like Tokyo is cheaper than in Cancun. It doesn't make any sense. It's simply unjustifiable. And that the business owners in Tulum didn't realize where their place was on the map. The reality is that the vast majority of tourists go to a destination like Tulum because it's supposed to be cheap, since it's a country like Mexico. Or at least that's what they have in their heads, in their minds. They think that because of the exchange rate, it's much cheaper to go to a place like Tulum. And besides, it has a reputation, or used to have a reputation, for being beautiful, for being paradise. But the problem is that lately, both Cancun and Tulum and Playa del Carmen have gotten a really bad reputation. This is also partly due to Mexico's reputation, unfortunately linked to the undeniable reality of organized crime. I'm telling you, when you talk about Mexico with people from other parts of the world, one of the first topics of conversation is organized crime. One of the few things every foreigner knows about Mexico is that it's an unsafe country. That's right, it's that harsh. Mexico is seen worldwide as a dangerous country. And one of the best things a country like Mexico can offer foreigners is a great experience, really good food at a really good price. The value for money, that's supposed to be something very important that countries like Mexico can offer. But the problem is that Tulum has totally ridiculous, unjustifiable prices that don't even make sense to foreigners. That's exactly why today it's a ghost town.
Many businesses are closed today. I believe it's cheaper for them to stay closed than open. Obviously, because they don't spend on staff, electricity, things like that.
Here's one of the most ridiculous things about Tulum. You have to pay to access the beach.
If you're going to come to the beaches of Tulum, it's important to mention that you have to pay. To enter the beaches in Tulum, you need to go through El Jaguar Park. It's a protected area and it costs 255 pesos if you're Mexican and 455 pesos if you're a foreign tourist.
If you want to access Tulum Beach, you have to pay $13.86 if you're Mexican and no less than $24.73 if you're a foreigner. There's no justification. Imagine traveling from another continent just to see Tulum's paradise beaches. And when you try to get in, they want to charge you for the beach. I mean, they want to charge you just to enter, just to access the beach. It doesn't make any sense. Foreigners aren't stupid. They know they're being scammed and see it as such. And I guarantee you that a lot of foreigners, after having an experience like that, say, I'm not coming back here again.
Definitely, Tulum is going through one of the worst seasons it has ever had. Let's remember that the low season starts when it's rainy and hurricane season, but it's also been accompanied by a series of bad decisions, like you're basically paying to do what you came here for, which is to go to the beach and enjoy the Caribbean. A lot of people want to come to the beautiful beaches of Tulum, and the fact that you charge for it seems like a complete rip-off to us.
I agree. Those are the results of bad decisions. Let's watch this video and pay attention.
Tulum. A paradise turned ghost town. Recent images of Tulum, Quintana Roo from early October look like scenes from a post-apocalyptic story. The streets look empty, restaurants close early, and the bars that used to be packed with foreign tourists now remain silent. This unprecedented scene appears in social media videos. Once bustling beaches and nightlife are now only echoes of what was the Mexican Caribbean's tourism symbol. The scene at sunset is striking. Where crowds once filled the beaches and handicraft markets, now only a few people walk past closed shops. Merchants report the situation has worsened since mid-September. Even hotels and resorts now offer free beach access to attract tourists. We've never seen this before, not even in the low season, says a hotel zone worker. The collapse has several causes, but a major one is the sharp rise in prices. Visitors complain that a bottle of water can cost up to 100 pesos, and a taxi ride can easily exceed 800 pesos.
$5 for a bottle of water? No wonder tourists are leaving and don't want to return to Tulum, because their whole experience from beginning to end feels like one huge, gigantic scam. Please share your thoughts on this. What happened in Tulum might be the beginning of the end, only time will tell. Guys, see you next time.